Leroy Cruz here again. Um, I just got some color there. Okay. Um, I getting ready to talk to you and apologize about some things I said in my last video. This one's not going to be long. It's not going to be long, but I'm getting ready to practice my guitar a little bit. And before I do, I wanted to talk to you about these. Earlier today, I was searching YouTube, and one of the things that kind of blessed me to hear is that I'm not the only one that thinks like I do. I noticed that a lot of these guys that have like these huge guitar collections, like this guy here, he had said that, you can get a guitar for $200 or less. And he said it in this video right here. You can get a guitar for $200 or less, an electric guitar for $200 or less. And it can be a quality guitar. It can sound better than $1,000 guitar or more. And I agree with that. I believe that I personally feel that once you get past $1,000 on a guitar, I think that I take it back though. I think that once you get past $1,000 on a guitar, you're starting to pay too much for a guitar. Once you get past $1,000, I think $1,000 is like rock top for a guitar, an electric guitar, unless that guitar is like a new brand that has nothing to do with the other brands, unless it can really beat Gibson and Fender, unless that guitar has built-in distortion or built-in synthesizers or something like that. I think you're paying too much for a guitar once you pay over $1,000 on a guitar. Now, however, I'm willing as a musician, and I thought about this today as I watched these three gentlemen talk about these inexpensive guitars that they would play out on stage. They said that they wouldn't mind playing these guitars on stage. They are totally confident about these guitars. The only thing that they did out of skepticism was they took the guitars apart and looked them through really good so that they could trust them and not just like the sound of them or like the looks of them, but they wanted to open them up and really check. And this guitar here reminds me of the very first guitar I ever owned, which only had one pickup though. It was really shiny like that, and it played beautifully. I don't think any guitars that I've had since then have given me such a clean tone as that one. But the guitar here, this one here, comes close. But I listened to this video, and let me see if they're letting me go forward in my history. I was really impressed with his specs on this guitar here. Let me see if they're not taking me in my history. I want to go back in my history. They're not taking me in my history, so I'm gonna get out of here. So let's hold on. Let me see. We do like this. That's all you gotta do. Okay. We saw that one. It's called The Hidden Gem of Amazon. This is an Amazon guitar that he was advertising there. And he had said that it's a guitar that he would take up on stage. And it costs around $200 or less, okay? And I also looked at this guy. He was talking about lipstick pickups. And mind you, I said in the last video that one of the guitars that I wanted back in the day was the Ibanez Tailman. Also, I've always been curious and been totally impressed with Danelectric. And so let me rephrase what I said in the last video. That was a long video, but let me get to the point about a couple things. Let me soften it up a little bit. If I was a musician like these guys, if I was like Slash, which I criticize very intently, and I'm sorry if I went too far with his ridiculous guitar collection, one thing I did not realize is that having guitars that other people want and can't afford, and having them stored in cases and locked in a, perfectly temperatured, warehouse with proper heating and lighting and airflow and that. You're keeping these guitars basically under the ice. You have a jackpot of wealth anytime you want it. If he needs a quick, 20,000, he can put 2 guitars on the table and sell them to some kid, or sell them to a couple kids and get 20,000. You know what I'm saying? If he needs a quick 5,000, he can probably sell, 4 guitars or 3 guitars, 3 Les Pauls. Okay. So him having that many guitars is an asset, and assets can be cashed into cash. So I don't really criticize him for having that many guitars if he can afford it. And if, like gambling for say, it's not running him broke, and it's not, he has the money to afford those guitars and also live in a nice house and support his wife or girlfriend, whichever it is, okay, and give her what she wants, okay? Who am I to sit there and criticize, okay? If he wants to have 1 million, if he wants to buy a warehouse full of guitars, that's his prerogative. I still think it's ridiculous, but that's his prerogative. Especially being they're all the same. Now, that gets me in the second part, okay? He has, like, Les Pauls that are identical. And he has, like, tons of them. Like, let's say, like I said in the last video, 1959 was one of his big interests. So, Slash has, like, probably about, a dozen or more 1959 Les Pauls, okay? To me, that's ridiculous. If it's just one little glitch in there that sounds different, or the volume's louder on one, or when you add distortion, the distortion is more distorted on another one, or whatever it is that's making you feel like you have to have, a new guitar for every little thing that's different, which I don't think, I mean, I've written songs that I feel sound better on keyboards. They sound better on piano, or they sound better on, they sound better on an acoustic guitar. But I'm not going to go out and buy a brand new acoustic. I got one in the closet there that's one of my favorites that I've ever had, one of the best sounding acoustics I've ever had. And I got to put strings on it. And I think I got to tighten the truss rod. Okay? But other than that, I have one of the best acoustics right over there in the closet. it needs a little bit of work. You know, and it cost me hardly nothing to get it. It'll cost me hardly nothing to get it fixed. But I'm not gonna go out and buy an acoustic. And I realized that some of the stuff that I wrote, it sounded better on that jumbo Fender acoustic that I had, and I gave that away. I gave that to my daughter. I don't know what she did with it because I don't see it in her house anywhere. I think she sold the best guitar I ever gave her. You know, I think she sold it. But that was a really nice guitar, and I understand. I really like that jumbo sound, even though I hate that. I totally loathe that jumbo feel. It's like, you know, trying to hug a tree. Beautiful sound. And it was a very inexpensive Fender. Nevertheless, it was a Fender. And I probably paid about $200 or less on that guitar. And it was smashing. It was good. And somehow I think I gave it to my stepdaughter. I got to ask her next time I see her. Whatever happened to that jumbo Fender I gave you? But anyway, I think it was her. Or I might have gave it to somebody that really needed an acoustic guitar, and somebody might have talked me into giving it to that person, being I don't play it enough, being I complain about it so much. I complained about how it felt, but the sound, oh my God. Oh my God, that thing sounded so good. I think that $200 Fender jumbo acoustic could have knocked Taylor out of the water, you know, or knocked him into the water, or one of the two. Okay. But what I want to say in closing is that if I was a musician, yes, I would have more than one guitar. I would have at least a small collection of guitars. I would probably have one with, one that's like a semi-hollow body. I'd probably have one, like I said before, with mini humbuckers or P90s. I'd have one with lipstick pickups. And even though I'm not really into single coils anymore, since I've discovered, these kind of guitars here, I probably would want to, keep a Squire around, keep a Dan Electro around the house, keep a Ibanez Tailman around the house, with the old Ibanez Tailman where I was first introduced to lipstick pickups. That one there. That goes way back to Tailman first started. Okay. And that was a good guitar. And the lady, I told you before, the lady that bought it, she broke my heart when she went and got it because she knew I wanted it. And she beat me to it, and she took it, and he knew I wanted it, but he let her buy it off of him. He couldn't wait for me to get the money to buy it. That broke my heart, but she did let me play it. She was even willing to let me borrow it and take it home for a while, and I said, no, you ain't got to do that. But I remember how bad I wanted that Ibanez Tailman, and I still got it on my mind. Now the newer one looks more like a Strat. And it has like single coils instead of lipstick pickups, which actually lipstick pickups are single coil pickups, but they're able, as they say, they're able to take more feedback and more distortion in that and more gain from the amp because the coil is wrapped repeatedly inside, the coil is wrapped, which makes it handle distortion in that different than regular single coils. Okay, so P90s, mini humbuckers and lipstick pickups, I am totally interested. Okay, but I think if I had a collection, it would be I'd probably have some kind of Les Paul copy that could really keep up with Les Paul, and it wouldn't be Epiphone or Les Paul. It would be like the Ibanez version. Or then again, I think I could do the Epiphone Les Paul. Or it'd be one of the other Les Paul copies from one of the newer modern companies, okay? That way I don't have to spend that much on it, but it would be just as good. And I would make sure of that, okay? So I would have this one, and this one's already somewhat of a Les Paul itself by the way it's built and designed. Then I would have an actual Les Paul or an actual Les Paul copy of a Les Paul, okay? I would have something that's semi-hollow or hollow body electric. I would also have something that would be this here was this guy's demonstrating a Dan Electro, and that is a nice looking guitar. Now that's a nice little soft guitar that I wouldn't mind having around the house for me to practice with. I think they're very lightweight, and they have a very easy going feel to them. Just by looking at them, I can tell. That's something that I might just, buy offline and have it mailed to me and not really worry that much about it, okay? But look at that. That's pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind having a Dan Electro. So I would have something like what I just said, and something like a Dan Electric or a Tellman, with lipstick pickups. Why? Because of the lipstick pickups. I want to play something with lipstick pickups. Okay? And then I would have, so I probably have a collection of 4 or 5 guitars, but the difference between me and Slash is all these guitars would be totally different than each other and sound totally different than each other. Not where you got to be playing and you got to hear, this one, I think I can hear it. I think I can hear it. This one sounds a little wee bit different. So you're going to go spend, what, $20,000, $40,000 just because of that little tiny little glitch in there. It sounds different. Come on, man, give me a break. I'm not doing that. But if it's a guitar that can give me more sounds than the rest of my guitars, I might need that. If it's a guitar that can make my mellow sounding guitar sound even more mellow, if it can keep up with the acoustic guitar, if it can keep up with Gibson and Fender, okay? There's different things about it that would make me buy that guitar. But it would be totally different than the other guitars. I wouldn't buy like 2 Stratocasters. I wouldn't spend that much money on 2 Stratocasters. I would have one, and then anything else I got would be like El Cheapos that I could give away when I'm tired of them. Or after I've used them or whatever, after I've used them for practice or whatever, as they start to wear and tear, give them away, sell them or something like that. But I would have like maybe 5 guitars that really, really stand out. And I can see myself doing that. Here, I'm looking at Alton's music right here, and he's showing the... they're playing with the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar and, the shootouts and all like that. I've always been curious to demonstrate a Jazzmaster. And I can tell you when the Jazzmaster and the Mustang are 2 guitars that I've heard on YouTube that actually sound different than a lot of your Gibson guitars. I can honestly say when they start adjusting all them knobs on there and stuff like that, same thing with guitars that have baritone. When they go to adjusting them, finally you got away from that Gibson sound. Finally you got away from that Fender sound. Okay? But most guys, because they're just rocking, because they're just rocking like that, they're just loud and their brain is over distorted. Okay, they have to have Gibson because Gibson's loud, not because it really makes sense in every way, but because it's loud. And they'll play a single coil with all the noise that goes with it because it's loud, and they're saying, "Oh, this sounds great," and it sounds juicy. But in closing, I take back what I said somewhat. If it were up to me and I was wealthy, oh, you think if I was wealthy like Slash, I would only have one guitar? Of course not. And there's a girl on YouTube called Melanie Faye. Look her up. Her name's Melanie Faye, black girl, who is like one of the best neo soul players out there. And she has a collection of guitars, and she loves to, and she just, and I realized when I looked at her earlier today, like, this is her hobby. So what's wrong with her having, just like art is one of my hobbies. I got art materials in there enough to buy a car. Okay? I got enough, and I'm not giving them up. Like, I got art materials in there. I got expensive art materials in there. I got art materials in there, more than enough to last me. Plus, I got quality art materials. Okay? It's my collection. A lot of them, some of the stuff I don't even use. I don't touch it. I can name on one hand how much of my stuff I use. And as new stuff comes out, I don't touch the old stuff anymore. But, if somebody was an artist, they could go shopping right here in this house. Okay, and I can make good money for what's in that closet behind me, right behind this wall. I can make good money for what's back there. Lay it out on a table here, have a yard sale. Okay, how much you going to give me for my Inktense pencils? How much you going to give me for my markers? How much you going to give me for this whole big giant thing I have that I haven't even touched it yet, of brand new spanking Artix markers that work really great. They're really competitive with Copics. How much you willing to give me for them? So again, there's an asset to having all those guitars. And again, like Melanie Faye, she's like a new artist, and she's making money for touring with bands and things of that. And what does she do with her money? She buys another guitar. Every time she's able to get enough money together from her tours, she buys another guitar. And I know she's buying all these guitars with her money that she is using her guitar to make this money. She's using her talent to make this money. So why shouldn't she have a collection of guitars if she wants to? She's single, and she's making her own money. If she wants to have a collection of super great guitars, the best guitars out there or whatever, and they're not the best guitars out there, like none of her guitars, maybe one or two, is Gibson or Fender. All her guitars are like the middle of the line, more modern guitars. You know what I mean? Like Ibanez, like Schecter and things of that, and some really off-brand guitars that aren't popular at all. But she'll play their Les Paul version, their 330, their version of a 335 or whatever, and she'll buy these guitars, and she has a collection of all these off-brand guitars. And I'm pretty sure it's at least 10 guitars total, if not more. I'm pretty sure it's more, because every time she does a video, she has a new guitar. So I'm pretty sure it's more than 10 guitars she has in her collection. But I thought, she's always doing these videos. She's always performing. She's always traveling. It's her hobby. Like, why shouldn't she have a collection of guitars? Okay? It keeps her musical, So I'm getting out of here. D-Roy Cruz on my Big D channel. Just wanted to clarify that. I'm getting tired. It's finally catching up with me. I'm still recovering from coming home from work this morning. Half sleep. But I still say that, you know, depending on what kind of guitar collection you have and how much of a guitar collection you have, it is ridiculous. Once you get up to 20 guitars, you done got ridiculous now. You done got really childish. Nobody needs that many guitars. I don't care what their differences are. You don't need 20 guitars. Because the guitar is a musical instrument just like the keyboards. Okay? Ain't nobody trying to get you to buy, you know, have a collection of 100 different keyboards, okay, so they can make money off you. Ain't nobody doing that. But a lot of this is to make money off of you, because I guarantee you, a lot of these guys that have a collection of guitars, they only play 3 of them, some 1. They only play 1 to 3 of those guitars on a regular basis. But again, if it were me, it'd be like, you know, humbuckers, P90s, lipstick, single coils, you know, dark complected guitar versus light versus red versus, you know, Flying V. I mean, all my guitars would be different than each other. You can look at them and tell they are different, and you can also play them and tell that they're different. And that's what I would do. And so let me get out of here. I'm really getting tired. D-Roy Cruz, your LG. I'll talk to you soon with more. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. God bless.